Hello, I'm Scott and welcome to our Maya modeling tutorial series on this table here. In this episode what we're going to do is we're just going to go back over our Taurus. We're going to apply some bevels to it, make it look a bit nicer, and then we're going to delete out unnecessary faces from the mesh. So far in the series what we've done is we've spawned in a cube for the tabletop. We then beveled off the edges on the cube to give it this curvature, and then we applied a bevel on the top and the bottom to give it a little bit of a light capture. We spawned in a Taurus and we edited its geometry so that it meets our needs here, reduce the poly count right down and make it more angular, and we've scaled that out and changed where it's sitting on the model just so that it gives us this nice underframe. So jumping straight into today, one change I've made since the last video is I took the tabletop and I scaled out its width very slightly on the Z direction. It was just looking a bit noticeable with the frame underneath, so I've made the tabletop a bit wider to hide the frame slightly more when you're looking down on it, like so. But anyway, jumping into today, we're going to be working on our Taurus. So what we're going to do here is, the faces we need to delete are the ones that meet the tabletop. So right now, we don't want to move the Taurus and we don't want to move the tabletop because they're just where we need them to be, but the tabletop's getting in our way. So what we do to access those top faces again is we come up to the top of our viewport while we've got our Taurus selected, and there's this little blue square with a white cursor on it, and we click on that and it's isolate selected. So if we click off again, it's just isolating whatever we have selected, so it's the only thing visible in the viewport. From here, we want to delete these top faces off of our Taurus, but we don't want to do it just quite yet because it's going to mess up some of our bevels if we do. So we're going to go into Edge, we're going to we're going to single click the first edge. I'm going to press Q here just to get rid of this little scale tool. So we're going to click our first edge, and then we're going to hold shift and double click the next one. And that's going to select all of those inside edges. We're going to do the same on the outside now, where we hold shift, we click one, and we double click the next. Now that we've got all our vertical edges selected, we're going to bevel these out similarly to what we did with the cube. So we're going to come up to the Bevel Tool here, we're going to click this, and to start with it's not applied a very rounded bevel for us, but the distance on it's fine, so we don't need to change the fraction, we just need to increase the segment count. So if we put this up to 2 and we hit enter, that's looking a bit better for us. Now we don't want to go crazy with the poly count here because the underside of the table is not really going to be seen by anyone, so we don't need to make it too rounded, we just need to account for the fact that people might catch the odd glance of it. We don't want it to be really sharp and angular, so 2's fine for what we're doing. So we're just going to click off of that now. The problem here is though, our geometry on the top is a bit of a mess, so we're going to sort that out next. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into face mode by holding right click and then hovering over face and letting go, and we're going to just hold shift and select all these top faces, not forgetting these tiny little ones that have appeared in the corner from the bevel. So the reason that this happens is that when you're in Maya and you apply a bevel, it tries its best to make the geometry make sense, but it doesn't always account for n-gons like this big face here, which is 8 faces or so. We're just going to do the same on the bottom now, where we're just going to delete out these faces. So what I'm doing here is I'm just holding down shift the whole time and I'm just clicking on all the faces I want to get rid of, and if I click on a face by mistake like I did with the side here, all you do is when it goes green, that means you're going to deselect it, and if it's red, that means you're going to add it to the selection. So you just hold shift still the whole time, and if you want to deselect, you click on it when it's green, and if you want to select it, you click on it when it's red. Like so. So I'm just going to check that I've not got any faces highlighted by mistake. I've not missed any, so I've forgotten this one here. And that's all the top selected, and we've not got anything selected by mistake around the edges, and all of the bottom faces are selected too. So that's exactly where we want it. So I'm just going to hit delete now and get rid of all of those. Now that's left us with some problems where we've got these big gaps now. So to fix that, we're just going to hold right click, we're going to come into edge select, we're going to click on the first edge here, we're going to hold shift and click on the next edge in, and we're going to bridge these. So to bridge, we use these two little strips here. next to our Bevel tool. It's this white, orange, white, white, orange, white, two little strips. If we click that when we have two opposing edges selected, it's going to create a bridge over the middle. So we can just keep doing that all the way around like so, and we'll just keep covering these gaps up. As we make our way around. And it's a little bit time consuming, but it's better to do this and keep the whole mesh in quads as we go for modelling. It's much easier to keep your mesh clean as you make it than what it is to come to the end of the mesh and then try and rebuild heaps of areas of the geometry where there's n-gons or there's things happening that shouldn't be, and it can really muck up some of your tools as you model, and things won't work the way you think they should, or they might not work at all if your mesh isn't working in quads. So we're just going to keep going around like so, just using shift and picking out two edges at once, and we're just going to keep making our way around and bridge all these little gaps in. Okay, so now we've got everything bridged up and sealed, we're just going to apply another bevel running around the rest of the edges on the object. So to do that, we're just going to hold right click, we're going to come into edge, and we're going to double click this first edge on the inside, we're going to double click the underside, we're going to do the same on the top, and we're going to do the same on the bottom. We're just going to check that that's not missed anything, so all the ones on the bottom are selected and all the ones on the top. So now we're just going to go back up to our Bevel tool again here, just back to this orange cube with the white shaved off corners, and we're just going to hit that, and that's way too big a bevel that's applied there. So we need to bring that right down. So we're going to try going from 0.5 to 0.25, and we'll tap enter, and that's still a bit much for what we need. So we'll see what 0.125 looks like. Now that's probably a bit closer, but we'll try right in the middle of those two, so 175. That's about right. So 0.175 bevel we're going to go for. Now we still need to fix the faces that we're never going to see. So to do that, we're just going to hold right click, we're going to go to face, and we're going to just use shift select to pick out all of these top faces on our Taurus, because they're always going to be hidden by the tabletop itself. And we're just going to hit delete on those, and that's going to get those out of our way. We're going to leave our little bevel in there, because if this was a real piece of wood that was built to put this next to the table above, there would still be some sort of gap or curvature where the two pieces met. So we're just going to leave that where it is now. And now we're just going to hold right click and come into object mode again, and we're going to turn off our isolate selected. So now we've got our tabletop back, and we've got our frame underneath all nice and beveled out, and the next step for us is to join these two meshes together, where right now they're separate pieces. We're going to make these all one thing, and we're going to merge the geometry on them as well. So in the next video we'll cover that. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.